The countdown begins. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe, like, and drop a comment if you're brave enough to make it through this entire story. Trust me, by the end of tonight's case, you'll understand why some officers still refuse to work the graveyard shift in this prison. The alarms weren't blaring yet. The radios weren't screaming. But something about the wing felt wrong. Quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against the walls like a warning. Officer Daniel Mercer knew that silence inside Briarwood State Penitentiary was never a gift. It was a message. It started at 1:47 a.m., right in the middle of his third round. Mercer paused at the end of cell block D, staring up at the digital wall clock mounted above the security gate. It read 1:53 a.m. He frowned, tapped his own wristwatch, and checked again. His watch never failed. He'd worn it through storms, drills, and one blackout that nearly shut down the entire East Wing. It still read 1:47, 6 minutes behind the wall clock. He brushed it off as a malfunction, but when he reached the next checkpoint, the analog clock above the stairwell also showed 1:53. 2 clocks in the same wing, both fast, both wrong. Then he noticed something else. Every inmate inside cell block D was awake. Some were sitting on their bunks, staring at their doors. Others were pacing, whispering, or standing silently with their backs against the wall. This wasn't normal. Not at this hour. Not on a night with no disturbances. Mercer called it in, trying to keep his voice steady. "Control, this is D-Wing. I'm seeing discrepancies on the time displays. Requesting confirmation." But the radio hissed for a long beat before the operator responded. "Copy that, D-Wing. We're showing everything normal on our end." Normal. Except nothing was. He continued down the hall, the soul-echoing footsteps bouncing off concrete like a metronome marking time. The air smelled metallic, the way the building smelled during electrical tests. It made the hair on his arms rise. Halfway to the central gate, something caught his eye. The electronic round tracking panel, a small touchscreen mounted to the wall, was blinking. A soft, rapid blink, the kind that usually meant an update or an error message. Mercer leaned closer. Round complete, 1:54 a.m. His stomach dropped. That timestamp shouldn't exist. He hadn't scanned his badge yet. He hadn't even touched the panel. He tapped the screen, and it refreshed again. Round complete, 1:55 a.m. Another minute added. Automatically. Somebody, or something, was altering the digital timestamps of his movements inside the prison. And if that system failed, or logged something he didn't actually do, the consequences were serious. Missed rounds meant investigations. Investigations meant suspects. And in a prison where technical malfunctions rarely stayed harmless, it could also mean danger. Mercer made his way into the control room to report the anomaly. The tech officer on duty, a young man named Rylan West, looked up the moment Mercer walked in. "You seen time issues too?" Mercer asked. West hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah. I didn't want to say anything until I checked twice. Every wing except A block is running fast. But the central system says everything's fine." Mercer stepped closer. "Then who's overriding the panel timestamps?" West swallowed hard. "I don't know. And I can't stop it." Before Mercer could respond, the lights flickered. Twice. Then the master monitor wall, dozens of screens showing every corner of the prison, went black for exactly 1 second before returning. But when the feed came back, 3 cameras were offline. All 3 were located in areas connected to D-Wing. Mercer stared at the dead screens. The countdown clocks. The blinking panel. The inmates who somehow sensed something coming. Someone had wormed their way into the prison's electronic system. Someone who knew exactly how to manipulate time, cameras, and round logs without triggering an alert. Mercer's pulse hammered. And then West whispered, "Daniel, there's something else. I checked the system's access logs." "What did you find?" West's eyes stayed locked on the monitor. The person accessing the system tonight was terminated 6 months ago. Mercer turned slowly toward him. "You're saying a former employee is inside the system right now?" "No," West said, voice tightening. "I'm saying someone used his credentials. And they logged in again 2 minutes ago." The screen refreshed. A new message appeared in red. Countdown initiated. And that was when Mercer realized he wasn't dealing with a glitch. This was a setup, and time wasn't on his side. The red message blinking on the monitor seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. Countdown initiated. It wasn't a warning the system normally used. Whatever it meant, whoever triggered it, this wasn't standard protocol. This was personal. Mercer stepped back, his pulse racing as he scanned the control room for any other anomalies. His eyes fell on the master time display above the monitors. A digital projection of the prison's synchronized internal clock. It had always been precise, reliable. But now it was speeding forward, seconds flickering too fast, minutes jumping irregularly, like the building itself was being dragged through time. West leaned closer to his keyboard, fingers trembling. It's rewriting the internal clock. I've never seen this before, he murmured. It's not just fast, it's distorted. It's skipping. We're losing track of real time. Mercer's jaw tightened. Can you stop it? West shook his head. Someone bypassed the main security layer. They're inside the deep system, the part that controls logging, routing, camera syncing. The lights flickered again, interrupting him. This time, they dimmed long enough to make the room feel like it was breathing. Mercer grabbed the radio. Control, this is Officer Mercer. We're experiencing system interference. Confirm status of... The radio crackled violently, then died. Just static. No tone. No connection. West swallowed hard. That's not supposed to happen. Radios are on an isolated frequency. Not anymore, Mercer muttered. Outside the control room window, the block was darker than before, shadows stretching across concrete in strange shapes. Inmates were still awake, standing, pacing, whispering to each other in nervous clusters. They sensed something. You couldn't hide tension from men who lived every second counting footsteps, doors, and breaths. They felt the shift like animals before a storm. West clicked another screen. Look at this. The access log scrolled up, showing repeated entries from the same user ID, ***J, Halston, ***. Mercer froze. Jeremy Halston. The technician who'd been fired 6 months ago for protocol violations. A man with a reputation for holding grudges. Mercer remembered the way Halston left the building that day, silent but seething, with a stare so sharp it felt like a promise. Mercer leaned in, voice low. What exactly can someone do from remote access? West didn't answer immediately. West, Mercer pressed, what can they do? Pretty much anything except open physical doors, West finally said. Logs, cameras, timestamps, emergency alerts. If they wanted to make it seem like a guard missed a round, or left a post early, or was in 2 places at once, they could fabricate everything. Mercer's chest tightened. They could frame an officer. West nodded slowly. Or stage a system failure big enough to shut down a wing. Before Mercer could respond, a sudden metallic clang echoed through D-Wing. Then another. Then a third. Mercer bolted out of the control room, West close behind. What was that? West whispered. Mercer scanned the hall, eyes darting from cell to cell. Then he saw it. One of the emergency lockdown bars, a heavy steel arm that sat above the security gate, had partially dropped. It wasn't fully engaged, but it was hanging crooked, as if someone had tried to activate it remotely. Mercer cursed under his breath. If that bar fell fully, the entire wing would seal. No one in or out. Not guards. Not inmates. And not without manual override codes that only 2 officers in the entire building had. Mercer wasn't one of them. West looked up at the mechanism. It's not supposed to move on its own. That's controlled by a failsafe system. Mercer stared at the bar. And the failsafe system is electronic. Only one person could manipulate it. The same person who was speeding the clocks. Distorting time logs. Shutting off cameras. Halston. But that raised the most terrifying question of all. If Halston wasn't in the building, who, or what, was he enabling from the outside? Before Mercer could puzzle the thought, a shrill alarm erupted from above. Not the facility alarm. A smaller one. A localized alert. Unauthorized access, sublevel maintenance corridor. West's face went pale. Mercer, nobody goes into that corridor after midnight. Nobody. Mercer felt the dread settle in his stomach. Someone's down there right now. West took a slow step back. Daniel, that corridor leads directly underneath D-Wing. Mercer didn't answer. He already knew what that meant. This wasn't about clocks. It wasn't about logs. This was groundwork. Someone was trying to breach the prison from below. And if they reached the junction under D-Wing, they could trigger a chain of events that would shut down the entire block, unlocking some doors, sealing others, plunging security into chaos. Mercer took off toward the stairwell. Stay here, West. Keep the cameras on that corridor. If anything changes, you call me. West shook his head frantically. You don't understand. If Halston is helping someone from the outside, he's doing it to expose weakness. To discredit the prison. But whoever's down there, they're not doing this for exposure. Mercer turned back. Then what? West's voice cracked. They're doing it because they want someone out. Mercer froze. West whispered the part Mercer had been avoiding since the clocks began to move. And if they get into the sublevel junction, they can pick exactly who. Mercer's pulse pounded as he descended into the dark stairwell. Every step echoed like a countdown. The deeper he went, the colder the air became. And then he heard it. Footsteps. Not his. Not West's. Someone was already in the sublevel corridor, moving fast. Mercer reached the bottom and pushed open the heavy steel door. The corridor lights flickered once, then steadied. And there, lying in the center of the hallway, was a small black device. A portable signal jammer. Still running. Still blinking. Still counting down. 00:03. 002. 00:01. ***. The device hit 0 with a soft click. No explosion, no sparks, just a sudden blanket of silence. Mercer felt his radio instantly die in his hand. The faint background hum of the prison's electrical system vanished. Even the air felt heavier, as if sound itself had been cut from the world. A signal jammer wasn't meant to be explosive. It was meant to make you blind, deaf, and alone. And now Mercer was exactly that. He crouched over the device, examining its sleek casing. It wasn't homemade. It wasn't cheap. It was military grade. Whoever placed this here wasn't improvising. They came prepared. A soft scuff echoed from deeper down the corridor. Someone was there. Mercer moved silently, keeping close to the wall as he advanced. The sublevel stretched ahead like a concrete throat, narrow, dim, claustrophobic. Pipes lined the ceiling. Water dripped somewhere in the dark. With every step, the temperature dropped. Another footstep. Then a whisper of movement. Someone breathing. Mercer reached for his flashlight, clicked it on, and swept the beam forward. A figure froze in the light. A tall man in maintenance overalls. Hood up. Back turned. Hands busy with something against the wall. And beside him, wires. Cut wires. Exposed cables. The kind that fed directly into the lock and alarm system for D-Wing. Mercer raised his voice, steady but firm. Turn around slowly. Hands where I can see them. The man stiffened. Didn't move. Mercer took a step closer. You're tampering with state property. This ends now. The man finally spoke in a low, calm voice. You're early. Mercer's blood chilled. The voice was unnervingly familiar. Before he could respond, the man lifted his hands, slowly, and turned. A face emerged from beneath the hood. Older than Mercer remembered. Leaner, but unmistakable. Jeremy Halston. The fired technician. The disgruntled employee. The man who'd been accessing the system tonight as if he still worked there. Halston smiled faintly. Didn't think you'd be the one to come down here, Daniel. Most officers would have stayed in the control room and panicked. Mercer kept his stance solid. You're trespassing inside a high-security facility. You need to stop whatever you're doing and put your hands behind your head. Halston chuckled softly. I'm not here to break anyone out. You think I'm stupid? You think I'd show my face in a federal prison to free an inmate? Mercer didn't answer. Halston stepped back from the cut cables. Careful not to touch anything else. I'm not here for them. I'm here for you. A quiet beat followed. Mercer narrowed his eyes. What are you talking about? You, Halston repeated. The officer who reported my system issues 6 months ago. The one who noticed the logging errors. The one who pushed the investigation that got me thrown out. His eyes hardened. You cost me everything. Mercer's grip tightened on his flashlight. You sabotaged the system. You endangered staff. You put inmates at risk. Halston shrugged lightly. I exposed flaws they refused to fix. And all they did was blame me. Mercer took another step. Then what's your plan tonight? Halston's smile widened. To prove that they never corrected the vulnerabilities I warned them about. To embarrass them. To show how fragile their system is. He gestured at the cut wires. A controlled failure. A temporary shutdown. Cameras offline, clocks distorted, logs corrupted. Nothing permanent. Just enough to make headlines in the morning. Mercer's stomach twisted. You think this is harmless? The wing is awake, agitated, confused. One wrong move and the whole block could erupt. Halston's expression softened, almost regretful. I didn't come to hurt anyone. I came to make the administration listen for once. Mercer stepped closer, voice steady but urgent. Halston, look at me. You're about to trigger a full wing lockdown. Those inmates won't see this as a demonstration. They'll see it as a threat. They'll panic. Someone will get hurt. Maybe a lot of people. Halston looked conflicted. Genuinely for a moment. I just wanted them to admit they were wrong, he murmured. Mercer extended a hand. Then stop this. Right now. Before it gets out of control. Halston lowered his gaze. Then a loud bang echoed overhead, metal slamming shut. Mercer's eyes snapped upward. The emergency lockdown bar for D-Wing had fully dropped. Halston stared at Mercer in horror. I didn't do that. I swear I didn't trigger that. Mercer's blood ran cold. Then who? Another bang. Then a grinding mechanical roar. Some doors were locking. Others were unlocking. Mercer's voice dropped to a whisper. You weren't working alone. Halston shook his head violently. No. I didn't bring anyone. The lights flickered, and for a split second the corridor plunged into darkness. When they came back on, Mercer saw something behind Halston. A second figure. Standing perfectly still. Watching. Halston turned slowly, fear flooding his face. That's not with me. The figure stepped forward into the light. A man in an officer's uniform. Except Mercer recognized him instantly, because this officer wasn't scheduled tonight. He hadn't been scheduled in months. He'd been reassigned after an internal investigation. A man who had every reason to hide his presence. He lifted a device in his hand. The second jammer. Mercer barely had time to react before the man spoke in a cold, controlled voice. You two did your parts well. The beat. But the real countdown starts now. The corridor lights died. Total darkness swallowed them. And somewhere above, in D-Wing, dozens of steel doors thundered open at once. End of story.